If you were to time travel from, say, 3 or 4 years ago to right now, specifically this week, or any time previously in Canadian history to this week, I think the person would just feel like they're being trolled. Like Ashton Kutcher would jump out and say, "Ha, you're being punked," because it seems so unbelievable. Justin Trudeau almost single-handedly, if I'm not mistaken, has ruined international relations with India in its entirety by making public accusations and then acting on certain things, right? Expelling already recalled diplomats and yada, yada. And then you have the amount of scandals, money scandals, right? Not just tens of millions, but hundreds, if not billions of dollars that Justin Trudeau has funneled into like private companies to benefit himself, his friends, his family, yada, yada. And then you have in the past like few weeks, 2 motions of non-confidence put forward in the House of Commons to have Justin Trudeau go through an election where he would very, very much lose. Obviously, they weren't successful yet, but nonetheless, that's a lot going on. And then you have, you know, Justin Trudeau's cabinet gets up and talks about, hey, we don't like our leader anymore. We want him out, which is pretty mental if you think about it. You go back 10 years to now, like that's not really been done many, many times before. And the few times that it has happened, it's because the leader is extremely competent. Not only Justin Trudeau, but his poppy as well. Kind of funny. And then above and beyond all of those things, you have some random Canadian guy living in his basement making a petition to change Canadian politics forever. You may know where I'm going with this, or you may not, but who this random guy is, you're looking at him. It's me. I'm this random guy. See, I've made a petition because I watch Question Period every single episode. I live stream it down below on the channel House of Canada. You may or may not have seen it. Because I watch every single Question Period episode, I get to see what these people do on our tax dollars. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the way it goes because you got this guy right here, Greg Fergus, who takes it upon himself to mute people's microphones just willy-nilly as he sees fit. And my petition, which you can find the link for this down below in the description, the pinned comment below, or type stopmutingthemic.ca. You have to be a Canadian citizen to be able to sign the petition, and it'll bring you to this website right here. Now, I talked about it in a video already, which I actually released initially. This petition was public knowledge on my extra channel of all places. That's why, folks, you gotta be subscribed to all the channels, right? Because you never know what's gonna come at you from what angle. But nonetheless, you go here, you click sign the petition. It brings you to the House of Commons, ourcommons.ca. My petition is E-5170, which, I mean, I'm just gonna go on and paraphrase everything that it is about discrimination. You see, the House Speaker, when he mutes the microphone, it's discrimination to the visually impaired. Because not everybody can be able to see and hear perfectly that watches Question Period. And for a progressive government to discriminate against the visually impaired by muting the microphone at his or her will, but mostly his will, Greg Fergus, the ethics violating House Speaker, the unfortunate ethics violating House Speaker that we currently have, who abuses his power by muting the microphone, which is just, did I mention it was discrimination against Canadians who are visually impaired? That is peak discrimination. So let's sign the petition. Let's band together. Again, you can find the link down below in the description or the pinned comment below, and support taking away his ability to discriminate against Canadians by muting the microphone. Now, in the petition, for those that didn't see the video yesterday, the explanation, you'll find that I provide a solution. And the solution is to have unanimous consent by all party leaders to be able to mute the microphone. Now, that's a democracy, folks. We get to vote our way into politics. They get voted out of politics. There's votes for things. There's votes against things. There should be votes for the ability to mute that microphone. Now, there's certain anomalies, right? Somebody somehow heckles onto the question period floor or House of Commons floor. Somebody breaks into the House of Commons floor. You don't know. I mean, hopefully that would never happen, but nonetheless, right? There's certain anomalies, or if a topic that would literally impede on national security, you know, there's certain things that would be an exception to that. But nonetheless, this random guy in his own basement, have come forward and, you know, put forward this petition to Canadians to try and stop Greg Fergus from muting the mic, also known as stopmutingthemic.ca. Now, let's move on to what else is going on for Justin Trudeau, because it's not looking good. Soon enough, he won't have the ability to have the House Speaker protect them by muting the microphone so that they can say whatever derogatory slurs they'd want to, right? Until I'm proven otherwise, that's how I choose to identify with my knowledge of what happens on the House floor when the mic is muted. I think that Justin Trudeau is a homophobic, racist individual who says very nasty things, and the House Speaker knows that, and he protects him by muting the microphone. That's how I choose to identify, unless I'm proven otherwise. That's my reality. No more discrimination here in Canada. Let's take a look at what's going on with this whole Justin Trudeau. Liberals are asking him to resign. Here we go.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
All smiles from Justin Trudeau after coming out of a hotly anticipated Liberal caucus meeting. The party meets every week, but this week, rebellious MPs presented the Prime Minister with a request that he resign for the good of the party and the country. But senior Liberal frontbenchers insist there's no split.
I think we still have some stuff to sort out, but I think it was a great conversation. People were honest and weren't doing it as a whisper campaign.
What really matters at the end is that we come out of that caucus meeting united, resolve in delivering for Canadians, and resolve in winning the next election.
The meeting ran over time, and reports suggest the rebelling MPs number around 24, short of the 20% of MPs needed to force a leadership review. It's not clear who's part of that group, but PEI's Sean Casey has said previously he doesn't think the Liberals can win another election under Justin Trudeau. No MPs wanted to break confidence to talk about what was said behind closed doors, but Nathaniel Erskine-Smith says this probably isn't the end of things.
Is the Palace in streak done after today?
I think we're still likely to have a few conversations after today. You wouldn't be surprised to learn, I hope.
The caucus confrontation may not have caused a rupture in the party, but Conservatives wasted no time in throwing the disagreement in the Prime Minister's face.
24 Liberal MPs went to his caucus today to tell him that he's not worth the crime, cost, or corruption. They wanted to tell him that he's doubled housing costs, doubled the national debt, sent 2 million people to the food banks. He wouldn't let them. He silenced half of the dissidents. In fact, some were intimidated so much so that even Rosemary Barton, the Prime Minister's favorite journalist, said people don't have phones in the room and some people are going to the bathroom texting us. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister text those dissident Liberal MPs, tell them to come out of the bathroom and tell the whole world that he's not worth the cost?
Speaker, in our caucus, people have always been free to speak their mind and have different perspectives. What is interesting, Mr. Speaker, is nobody in the Conservative caucus seems to have spoken out when one of their members got an all-expenses-paid trip to an extreme anti-abortion church in Florida.
In Ottawa, Shaoli Lee, City News.
So I actually agree with one of those things that was mentioned, and that is the fact that Justin Trudeau will not win a next election. Now, I'm in support of Justin Trudeau running in the next election because I know that he won't win. There is too much of a momentum, too much of a movement that is anti-Justin Trudeau, that is F Trudeau. No matter where you go, Trudeau gets heckled. No matter where you go online, there's people that are talking about politics and how Justin Trudeau screwed up this country. It's phenomenal the way that people have come together in agreement that Justin Trudeau is a massive part of the problem. And so getting rid of him, getting rid of a Liberal government and shifting things to, it's the top of my head, you got Pierre Poilievre in the Conservative Party, I don't think things could get worse. And in fact, I'm pretty optimistic that things will get better. But that's my opinion, and I would love to know yours. But as far as Justin Trudeau staying on as Prime Minister, you have my full support, Justin. Stay on as Prime Minister and sink that ship further down than what the Titanic did. All right, we got another video here pulled up for you, folks.
A smiling Prime Minister Justin Trudeau walked out of a 3-hour caucus meeting today after what we were told was a full and frank discussion with MPs. It all unfolded behind closed doors. There was anticipation that Trudeau would be encouraged to resign, but as MPs emerged, they used words like united after robust and healthy conversations. CTV's Judy Trin is all over this in Ottawa. So Judy, take us through what went down today.
Sandy, this morning the Prime Minister was first to arrive. He was bracing for candid conversations, even criticism about his leadership. The Prime Minister arrived 1.5 hours before the caucus meeting. Reporters gathered at all the entrances, waiting for the drama to unfold. Among the first Liberal MPs to arrive, the vocal Atlantic backbenchers, who aren't running again.
We do need to change the leadership, but you know, in the end, caucus majority will rule, and I'll be able to look in the mirror and say my piece.
There are more than 20 Liberals who have signed a letter asking Justin Trudeau to step down. Before the meeting, some said they will consider voting against their own party.
None of us are happy to be called garbage, but there are people there that want to run again, and they're nervous because of what polls are saying.
Don't talk about caucus outside of caucus.
Rumblings of the caucus revolt has dominated headlines for nearly 2 weeks, angering senior members.
When you look divided, you look weak. There was another option for the 20 or so people apparently that signed a letter that could have had a private meeting with the Prime Minister, outlined their fears and their concerns. It was not necessary.
The meeting lasted more than 3 hours. Sources tell CTV no letter was presented and there was no list of names. But some MPs did go to the mic to speak about leadership change.
This is the first time we're actually discussing this issue. So this will be a full conversation.
This isn't a code red situation, and the Prime Minister can sure as hell handle the truth. And what was happening there, although it will remain confidential, is really about MPs telling the Prime Minister the truth.
I believe Justin Trudeau will be leading the next election. So thank you.
What Mr. Poilievre would do to this country is the type of thing that keeps us all up at night. And I have a lot of pride in a caucus that's willing to have tough conversations. I think that's profoundly democratic.
So after a 3.5-hour meeting, what isn't clear is what has changed. The Prime Minister appears to be staying on, and although they're united in taking on Pierre Poilievre, the Liberals have yet to say what their strategy is. Sandy.
All right, Judy, thank you. Let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapillas. And Vashi, we've seen a smiling Prime Minister. The Liberals are saying they are united. Now, I know that you've worked your sources. What are they telling you really happened behind the scenes?
Well, I think the Liberals who are speaking to reporters publicly are united behind the Prime Minister, but that doesn't mean everybody in that room was. And my sources are telling me more than 10 MPs went to the microphone to voice their concerns, tell the Prime Minister that they hope he vacates the position leading the Liberal Party. And some of them even issued a deadline of sorts, saying that they wanted him and hoped that he would make that decision by October the 28th, which isn't too far away. They did not, as a whole, specify what the consequences would be if he does decide to stick around, but many of them are telling me that they would decide not to run again if that were the case.
Okay, so as Judy said, Vashi, what isn't clear is what's changed. So is there a next step?
Well, the Prime Minister lives another day, right? I think that's the bottom line today, Sandy. Whether he will continue to live many more days as leader of the Liberal Party or many more weeks, I think is an open question. Yes, he was able to quell the backlash today, but that doesn't mean it ceases to exist, and what form it takes going forward is what I'll be watching for. Sandy?
All right, Vashi, thank you as always.
Okay, there you go. You know, people are not happy with Justin Trudeau. Things are imploding from the beginning. And I shared this next clip on my extra channel last night, where it was actually, like I said, the first place early access to the petition that I have launched. But for those that didn't see it, we're going to take a look. You've got Liberal MPs that are now discussing what took place during that caucus meeting. Let's take a look at this.
It started and ended as a normal caucus session would, with comments from the Prime Minister, but we went right to what we call the general list, so we didn't go through Whip's report and House Leader's report, et cetera, et cetera. I estimate about 50 people stood up and spoke. But what was really, really interesting is, you know, we were all listening really, really intently, and as additional people came up to speak, they would either build on something that had been previously said or introduce another way of looking at something, another nuance, if you want to put it that way. And we all left there with our heads full of things to think about. So I know it would be much more comforting to a lot of people to say, okay, this is the resolution, this is what happened. But no, we have to go away and we have to process this. I mean, that's part of change management, okay? And my advice to the party is we have to employ change management in order to really talk to people about change. How do we get from today to where we need to be to give Canadians the confidence that the Liberal Party and the leader, whoever that leader might be, has got their back, who has got, you know, a good grasp of the situation, and most importantly, something that the opposition hasn't offered, and that's the solutions. What are we going to do about it?
You just mentioned whoever that leader may be. Is it an open possibility that it is not 100% certain that leader is Justin Trudeau? And can you, if you don't mind, inform that answer with how, you know, by what happened today?
Well, I think, you know, the consensus that I believe was shared 100% in the room is that we all go away and we all think about what we've heard. And,
including the Prime Minister?
Including the Prime Minister, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and, you know, there's no, you know, there's been talk of a deadline. There's no deadline here. What there is, though, obviously, is the clock that is ticking toward another election, and answers to questions that have been asked. We need those answers as a caucus and as a country, and that's where the focus is going to be going
So you
forward.
didn't hear anybody say this October 28th deadline, you must provide us with an answer by then?
You know, there was talk about that in whatever that letter was going around. That I've seen a piece of paper, but I actually haven't, you know, picked it up and read it. You know, okay, I can put any kind of, you know, deadline on anything I want, but at the same time, there was no, like, process, if you will, that a motion was passed or anything like that. So, yeah, a lot of things were tossed out there. Everything is on the table, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. But the real job, we as a caucus right now and as a government, we have to go and do the thinking and the processing of what we've heard today. It was a really rich environment. The room was light. You know, we weren't, you know, going at each other with daggers and all that kind of stuff. There was nothing Caesarean about it. No, it was a very, very constructive and extremely respectful conversation, which is something that we've always expected from caucus, and it's always been delivered.
So again, it kind of brings me back to a talking point of if somebody were to time travel from 10, 15 years ago to right now, what's happening, although it has happened very, very rarely in Canadian history, what's happening right now is extremely historic because Justin Trudeau is one of the most, and I would go out and say the most divisive prime ministers Canada has ever seen. And the fact that you have an internal revolt that he's doing his absolute best to completely silence, it's just not good. Unfortunately, Justin Trudeau will go down in the Canadian history books, but it won't be for the reasons that he wants. It'll be for reasons of, you know, screwing over our country, creating a lot of division. And did I mention screwing over our country? Yeah, let's make that one in big bold letters. Now let's take a look at another analysis video here.
We begin in Ottawa, where several Liberal MPs openly questioned the Prime Minister's leadership today. The Liberal caucus met for more than 3 hours, and we know a number of MPs spoke up to tell their boss he needs to step down if the Liberals have any chance of winning the next election. The Prime Minister rushed past reporters when the meeting ended, and this is the only thing he said.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
Strong and united. The CBC's Kate McKenna joins us live from Ottawa now. Kate, the Prime Minister gave that characterization of the meeting. What have you been hearing about what happened behind those closed doors?
Well, certainly publicly, there's been a lot of conversation about robust and healthy discussions, and what he said, you know, that the Liberal Party is full of unity. But behind the scenes, we're getting a clearer picture of exactly what went down in that marathon caucus meeting that was more than 3 hours long. And at the center of it is this letter that had been said to be circulating for more than a week now, 2 weeks now, roughly, that we know now that 24 MPs have signed. We heard a little bit about what happened. We heard that the letter was read in the room, and that initially we thought about 4 or 5 MPs got up and shared their concerns about the Prime Minister, calling on the Prime Minister to step down. Now we know that number was actually closer to 20. So a big jump there. Some people did also speak in support of Trudeau. But what we've also learned about this letter is that it contains a deadline, and that deadline is October 28th. So Trudeau is asked by the people who signed that letter to come forward and say whether or not he's planning on staying or going by October 28th, and his reaction will prompt the upset Liberals to decide what the next steps will be. Now, of course, we know the Prime Minister has stayed on or intends to stay on, has said repeatedly that he intends to stay on, and we also know it's not super clear what the angry Liberal MPs or the MPs who would like to see the Prime Minister step down, exactly what next steps they would take following this caucus meeting. But here's what some cabinet ministers said following the meeting this afternoon.
What happens in caucus is like a family. You need to listen to each other. You need to make sure you welcome the views of people. But at the end, it's like a dinner table. At the end of the dinner, we all need to come out and relentless focus on serving Canadians and winning the next election.
I think it was a very robust conversation. Of course, we don't discuss what takes place in National Caucus, except to say I think it was healthy, it was robust, and when at the end of it, I think we were united.
You know, I am quite proud of my colleagues, whether I agree with them or not, because they were frank, they were honest, and they spoke with their hearts.
Well, I appreciate the interest in parliamentary antics. I am so convinced that what's happening, the good news on inflation, the good news on interest rates, is overwhelmingly the important thing for Canada and Canadians.
In terms of what Justin Trudeau's response was, we heard from sources that he told caucus he's going to reflect on what was shared, and that he's not confident at this time that he needs to step aside, but said he will take time to reflect.
Okay, and Kate, some of the support that we heard in those comments seemed to continue into question period as well. Quite a round of applause for Trudeau when he was asked a question during question period. But the opposition parties did take some shots. So how did all of that play out?
Well, this is the second day now that Conservative leader Pierre has opened his question period, sort of needling the Prime Minister on the sort of caucus dissent, discussion in caucus about Justin Trudeau's leadership. And today he did it again, saying that maybe the Prime Minister is too busy with his own internal affairs to be in a good position to properly govern the country. Here's what he said.
24 Liberal MPs went to his caucus today to tell him that he's not worth the crime, cost, or corruption. They wanted to tell him that he's doubled housing costs, doubled the national debt, sent 2 million people to the food banks, but he wouldn't let them.
Speaker, in our caucus, people have always been free to speak their mind and have different perspectives.
And in response, we did see the Liberal MPs, the Liberal caucus, get up and give him a very loud standing ovation, as if to signal to the Conservatives and the rest of the House that they are a united party. It went on for so long that the Speaker of the House got up and had to calm the place down. But we do know, because of this October 28th deadline, that this is still a story that's set to unfurl in the coming weeks.
Okay, well, we will be...
At least he didn't mute the microphone. And because there's a process with starting petitions, like you get submitted on our commons, you write everything up, you get signatories, and then you send it to MPs that you want, one MP, you have one chance, and then you get either approved or denied, and then so on and so forth. And so Greg Fergus is like 95% likely to have already seen the petition that I've put forward before I was able to announce publicly that it has been approved, before it ever even got approved. So the most recent question period that happened yesterday, he didn't mute the microphone, even though I was taunting him on the stream. Come on, Fergus, mute the microphone, because I was going to launch the petition, or I did launch the petition later on after that question period. So that was kind of funny how that played out. But getting back to topic here at hand of Justin Trudeau, I mean, I don't see how this is going to end well. They've already ruled off prorogation. It's not happening. There's no way that Justin Trudeau is going to step down. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't even matter if Chrystia Freeland said, okay, Justin, come on, Justin, it's time to go, right? I mean, he's so narcissistic. He wants that position. He wants to win Canadians over. It's almost a game for him now. He's losing, right? And he doesn't want to admit loss. He doesn't want to admit defeat until Canadians get to vote. And I mean, I don't see him stepping down. So what's going to happen? Two potential options. There's two, according to me and my thoughts, right? Either they go the distance, October 2025, the next scheduled federal election. Or somebody, most likely the Bloc, will call for a vote of non-confidence if they don't get the OAS support that they want, the old age security support that they want by October 29th. That's in less than a week. So who would vote in favor of that? The Bloc, unanimously. The Conservatives, unanimously. And the NDP and the Liberals would block it, right? It wouldn't get put forward. But if these 20 to 30 Liberals that are kind of revolting against Justin Trudeau, if they unanimously got up and voted in favor of the vote of non-confidence, that may be enough to push it forward. And that is what now a lot of people are going to be focusing on. So I've shared my opinion, and you don't have to, but I would absolutely love to know your opinions down below in the comments. How do you see this playing out? Am I right? Am I wrong with my two different outcomes for a projection? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And that is the end of the video. If you haven't yet already, I'd like to encourage you guys to smash the like button and subscribe. And also a reminder to go sign the petition, link down below in the description or the pinned comment below. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.